everybody. It's Murphy Gray Hunter, and we are still, what are we? June the 5th, and it's about, I don't know, 3 in the afternoon. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to kind of give an update on my whole situation with my grandmother's Book of Shadows. Now, I'm just going to kind of give y'all a recap of the whole story. They first started out with, you guys know that my grandmother on my father's side was a witch. She called herself a curandera, which is, a healer. But my grandmother was Native American. She was Apache. And so for her, it really was being about like a medicine woman, a healer. But she kind of mixed it up with a lot of, witchcraft. And so I didn't know for a long time that she was a witch until, I was getting older, because as a little girl, you don't know. Grandma's just getting out her special herbs and stuff. She used to teach me a lot about what to pick and how to grow stuff. But it was funny because my grandmother didn't speak hardly any English. She only knew a little bit because, she was Native, and my grandfather was German. So, but they both knew how to speak Spanish, because back then Spanish was like the actual universal language that you could, especially in Texas, that you could speak and everybody understood. And so, like, if you watch a lot of like old movies, a lot of the natives understand Spanish quite well as the cowboys, because it was something that was like a universal language. So they would be able to speak Spanish to one another and understand instead of in their own language. Anyway, so in her backyard, we would go to the backyard, and she had it was like backed up into some like little wooded area. And she had like this cutout, almost like a crop circle. You see those crop circles in the back of her house. She had like a big crop circle there. And she had a lot of herbs all around, like things that she grew and things that she picked. And I don't know what she did back there, because like I said, it's been a long time ago, but it was something definitely she would do back there, because it was specially made for her to go back there, like a little path, and then opened up to a big circle. And it was all hidden, with all the big trees and stuff like that. And we would pick stuff back there. And I remember her cabinet. She had a special cabinet that she would open up, and she had all these things in jars, like dried herbs, wet. She had jars with wet stuff and dry stuff. And they were all in just jars, and coffee cans and jars and things like that. And the cabinet was really, really tall. So I remember she would go into that cabinet, and she'd start taking stuff out and throwing stuff into a pot and boiling stuff. And then, of course, she would throw a rag in there, and then she would, infuse the towel inside all the infused oils and whatever else she put in there, and she would go apply it to whatever she was taking care of. That's how she took care of my foot when I cut my foot. Anyway, so also my grandmother, she did so many good and bad things. When I look at the things that she did, I think to myself, my grandmother just did what she needed to do for whatever reasons. She hustled a lot to make ends meet. I found out that she would knit, crochet or knit blankets. She would do blankets and sell those for money. She would do spells. She would read cards. She would do all kinds of stuff. She would de-lice children during the summer and get them ready for school. She took care of kids. There was all kinds of stuff that she did, to make money. Anyway, so she had a little room. When you went into her house, it was a big, living room, and then you went through the room, and so between the living room and the kitchen there was another room, and I think that was like a dining room. But in that dining area, she had another little door, and you went through that door, and it was like a little, kind of like this, like a closet, right? But back then, as a child, the room looked ginormous. But now as an adult, it probably isn't that big. I don't know. I haven't seen that in a long time. But I do know that years ago, when my grandmother had already passed away, my aunt was living there, and two of her kids had a room in there. Like, they had their beds and all that in there. So it was big enough for a bedroom. But anyway, that was her witchy room. And she had all of her stuff. We were not permitted to be in there. Like, we could not go in there at all. She always kept it closed, and she always kept something in front of it to make sure we didn't go in there. But my sister's the oldest, so she remembers more than I do about what the room looked like. She said there were so many, like, symbols and things written everywhere. There was things written on the floor. She had all kinds of jars and all of her witchy stuff in there. And man, I said, God dang, I wish I would have remembered, you know. But anyway, so when I cut my foot, I remember her taking out her spell book, and she opened up her book and she was looking at it, and then she went into her cabinet, she pulled some stuff out and to take care of my foot, because I cut my foot about that, sliced it down with a piece of glass, and so she was making me something to take care of it, and I remember seeing that book a few other times, but of course, as a child, I didn't know that was a book of spells or a book of shadows. Anyway, so, time passed by, and my grandmother got hit 3 times. She had a stroke. She had 2 strokes. The first stroke she could no longer talk. The second, but she could still use her hands. The second stroke she couldn't use the right side of her body, only the left side. And then the last one she died. And so, but like I said, I mean, I'm skipping through a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just trying to get to the story. Anyway, so as an adult, I started to find out more about my grandmother and finding out stories about her. And really searching my brain, because you guys know how I forget everything, really like cramming my brain to try to remember certain things, and then certain things would come back to me so easily, and then my sister would be like, you remember when so-and-so, do you remember that? I'm like, oh yeah. And then my mom would tell me, and then of course I would find out from my aunts, because my grandmother had 15 children, so a lot of them are still alive, and I would confirm things with them. And of course, when my mother was alive, she told me a bunch of stuff. And of course, with my father, he would always tell me things that my grandma would do. And so anyway, I just waited so long to go after my grandmother's book. My sister and I remember my grandmother saying that her book was going to be passed down to either me or my sister. That it was going to come to us, because we were going to carry on we were going to do what she was doing. But I don't know how she put it, but you know what I mean. Oh, sorry guys. And so, and my sister remembers that too. And so, I really wanted to get that book. I started going back, and I had not seen that side of my family in a long time. Since my father had passed away, I had not gone. I used to go there when my father was alive, he was living there, and that probably would have been the best time to get it. But I had a very bad relationship with my father, and I didn't want to be around him. I tried, but I couldn't, and it was hard for me to be around him. And so my brothers were always over there, but I never was. Anyway, so after my father died, and I decided, okay, I want to get my grandmother's book, or get something of my grandmother. I don't have anything of my father's. I want to put on my altar, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to start talking to them. And so I just drove up there one day and pulled in and started talking to him, and my aunt came out and we started talking, my Aunt Linda. And she is the one who, it took me a little bit to break the ice with her, and I just came out and just told her, like, you know, do you have any of grandma's stuff? And then she's like what? And I said, like her, like, she didn't understand the term Book of Shadows. Even my other aunt, she doesn't understand the term Book of Shadows. You know, they call it mother's books, my mother's book of recipes. Mother, they call her mother. You mean mother's books? Book of recipes? And I said, yeah, like her spells. Because, like, I don't know what a Book of Shadows is or a Book of Spells, but she had a book of recipes. And I'm like, was those recipes like for food, or was it for like, and she's like, oh, no, for her healing. You know, she was a curandera, you know, of those, her magic like that. And I said, well, yeah, that's what I want, whatever you want to call it. And so my Aunt Linda told me that she didn't have the book, that all of that scared her. When Mother died, I threw all her stuff in the trash because all that really scared me. I was terrified of all that stuff. I didn't want nothing to do with that. And so she said she threw it all out. Okay, whatever. And then I didn't believe her. But you know, I didn't really know her too well, because, you know, I knew her, but you know how it is with relatives. Like, you see them, but it's years pass by, and even though you're related, you don't know nothing about these people. And so it kind of went like that. I would go and see her like maybe once a month, sometimes twice a month, because I kept trying to keep asking her, like, you know, do you have anything of grandma's, anything that I can have? And I asked her something on my father. She goes, oh, I threw all of your father's things in the trash. I'm like, why would you do that? And she's like, well, I mean, because we wanted the room, and, you know, he had all this stuff. I'm like, you could have called us. Like, there's 8 of us. Like, you know, some of us would have loved to have something of his, you know, like, ugh. Anyway, so then she said she threw all her mother's stuff out. So then she says, well, you know, I do have some of Mother's books around somewhere. So she gave me, I mean, this took forever to even get those books. And so she left some books, and my mom went and picked them up for me. And my mom brought them to me, and there were some books in Spanish. There were like books on saints, and some on herbs. Like, you guys have saw those books. Well, that's all she gave me, and I'm like, well, thank you, but these are not the books that I'm talking about. I kept explaining to her what it was that I wanted, and she just kept telling me, oh, I don't have nothing like that. And you know, again, all this feeding me all this BS. Sorry, guys. Okay, so then somewhere in the line, I started talking to her daughter, and then, like, just chatting back and forth. And her daughter, we were just talking, like, you know, everything was cool until I asked her about, do you know about the stuff that grandma did, right? And she was just like, you know, she was like, what do you mean, like healing people and stuff? And it was kind of like back and forth with that, like she didn't want to like say something to me. And then I asked her about she said, oh yeah, because I told her I was a practicing witch, and I followed grandma's footsteps. And so she said, oh yeah, she says, me too. I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff from mom. Mom is teaching me and my daughter. And I'm like, your mother, which is Linda, your mother is teaching you witchcraft and your daughter? She's like, yeah. I said, well, that's funny, because your mother told me that she was scared of witchcraft and she doesn't mess with any of that. And after that, she was like, oh, really? She's like, I don't know why she would say that, you know. And then I asked her about grandma's book. And after that, she didn't reply back at all. You can see where she read it, but she wouldn't reply. And so I kept asking her, and she would not reply. So that was the last time we spoke, and that was, gosh, some time ago. So I kept going over to Linda's, trying to find out about the book. She kept lying to me. She's telling me, I think I have it. I don't, just all this back and forth. One of my brothers went over there, and she says, oh, your sister has been by here several times, and she keeps asking me for my mother's book, my mother's spell book. And she goes, and I have it, but she's never going to get it. Like, my brother had no clue what she was talking about, because I don't talk to my brother. Like, I have 6 brothers, and he's just not, he's one of my brothers I just don't talk to for personal reasons. There's reasons why I just don't talk to him. If I see him, I'll say hello, but I don't go out of my way to go visit him. Like, if I never saw my brother again, I'm okay with that. And I know that sounds harsh, but you guys don't understand. Just because you are related to someone does not mean that you are obligated to take somebody's bullshit. And that's exactly what he's about. And I just won't. I won't be around someone. He's a racist. He's just a negative person. I don't have room in my life to give someone my energy or my time. You know what I mean? Like, keep your negative, racist, all of that away from me. So it's because you're my brother don't mean shit. Anyway, so he's the one that I don't talk to. So, so she said, yeah. So the only reason I know that is because he told my mom. So my mother called me. She's like, because I told my mom I was trying to get the book. So my mother knew. And my mother knew. And my mother remembered my grandmother's book. So she's like, I know the book you're talking about. I've seen that book several times. And so my mother said that when my grandmother would take people to the crossroads, and they would come to the house around 11 o'clock at night. And she goes, because my mom used to live with my grandmother and grandfather for a while. You know, when they were married, they lived there for a while. And she said that in the middle of, like, back then it was like the middle of the night, but for us it's like, it's only 11 o'clock. But they would come knocking at the door, and my grandmother would come out with her little black cloak on. And my grandmother used to wear these little black witchy shoes with my mom calls them black little witchy shoes with her little white socks. And she would have her black book in her hand. And she would tell her she's off to do some work and she'd be back later. And so later on, my mom had asked her what she was doing. And she told him, I'm taking them to the crossroads. They pay me to take them to the crossroads. So apparently my grandmother would take them to the crossroads. And in that book, she has an incantation that she would say with steps to call out to whatever demon it is to come out, and she would tell them what to do. Like, she would say, you know, this is good, because she told my mom this is what she would do. She would take them out there, and they would pay her to take them out there and to call them, to tell them the steps, what to do the incantation to call the demon out. And then she would tell them, okay, everything is done. Like, I don't know if she put candles, I don't know if she drew something, I don't know, because that's all in the book. But she would tell my mom that she would go and she would prepare everything, and she'd get everything together, and then she would call on the demon, on the devil, the devil, I guess. And she would tell the person, she would prepare them, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to see, and this is what you're going to do. And so she would leave them. She would do it, get her money, and she would leave them there. And then she had nothing else to do with it, right? And so, but my mom said that she saw her always have that book in her hand when she went. And whenever anybody came over to do any type of spell work, she'd take them into her little room, and she always had her book. And my mom said, yeah, I saw that book several times. She goes, I never looked in it. She goes, but I saw that book. She always had it. So anyway, my aunt told my brother that your sister's been coming around here asking for my mom's book, and I have it, and she's never going to get it. Right? And so I don't know why she thought that my brother wasn't going to come and tell me. I mean, she didn't know that we weren't talking unless he told her. I don't know. But he told my mom, and then my mom told me. And so so then when I went back there again, I asked her again. I said, hey, my brother told me that you have the book. And she goes, oh, I never said that. He must have heard something else, because that's not what I said. She was so fakety fake. Like, she was trying to ask me to help her get rid of the lechuza that was coming to see her every night. She told me some story about the lechuza coming and almost grabbing her and getting her, but this bright light came shining on this tree, and she could hear her mother's voice, and she knew that was her mother there. Like, she could see her and hear her. Like, I'm just like Like, you just telling me this to like freak me out or to like get me from not. She was very, very shady. I couldn't believe anything that she said. I didn't trust anything that she did. And she was just one of those kind of people that when I would leave, I would definitely sage myself before and after and fucking drink some Florida water at the same time. You know, like one of those kind of like gives you the EBGBs, you know? I knew that she was up to no good, but I wanted that book so bad. And so anyway, she didn't want to give me the book, and I was so upset. And you guys probably have seen the videos where I talked about it. I'm like, this bitch has this book, she ain't giving it to me, whatever. You know, I'm like, screw it. I'm not going to worry about it. I had a few people talk to me about, you know, readers that have told me, and then I even had one who works with the fairies, and they told her guides told her about that book, and I hadn't even mentioned that book to her. So the things that she told me were just kind of mind-blowing, because basically, in a nutshell, all the readers and the people who I asked or had something to tell me, a message to tell me about these books, about the book that I wanted, and my grandmother and my aunt, was that the book is a bad book, and that if I was to get the book, that the book would bring me a lot of, like, it could potentially bring me harm because of what's tied to the book. Now, again, just by what people, my family, my mother, my aunts, who are her daughters, and people who have known my grandmother and worked with my grandmother and used her services, you know, tell me that my grandmother used to deal with a lot of black magic, and she dealt with demons. And so my thing is, so if that book is linked to it, of course it's going to have some dark energy on it, you know. So those are things that I do think about, you know, when I pursue this book, because I think about what's tied to this book. But it's part of my legacy. It's part of our heritage, you know. And so, yeah, I do want it. But then it's kind of one of those crazy stories that you hear about, like me wanting to find this book and searching for this book and all this long, you know, all this hard work I'm doing for the book. And then once I find the book, it brings nothing but chaos into my life. So these are things that I think about. Like, is it worth it? My life is so great right now. Do I really want to throw a pebble in, you know, in my calm little pond right now, you know? And so, but anyway, so, I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going back over there. My aunt gives me the really bad vibes. I don't need the book. I convinced myself I'm never going to get the book. I don't need the book. I'm just, screw it, right? Then my sister told me, hey, did you hear about Linda? And I'm like, what? And she's like, she's dying. And I'm like, what? I mean, what? Like, I just saw her. And they're like, yeah, she got sick. She went to the hospital, and they told her she has cancer. She only has 6 weeks. I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah. So she told me she was going to go see her, right? That everybody was going over to see her. And she goes, you want to go with me to go see her? And I said, where? She goes, in grandma's house. I'm like, no. I don't go in my grandmother's house anymore, because there are so many things in my grandmother's house. Whenever I walk to my grandmother's house and I get on her, just when I stand on her porch, I get this feeling of almost like I want to vomit kind of feeling. Like I get that, like that, like I want to puke, and I get this strange tingling all over me. Like thinking about it gives me goosebumps. Like I really makes my hair stand up on the back of my neck. Like I literally can feel my hair stand up. There's something in that house, and there's a lot of things that are in that house, but there's one particular thing in that house that is almost like if I'm in the car and it's almost like something in the back of the house, and it's just like coming, like imagine something being in the very back of the room of the house, and it's going fast through the road, all the way through the doors, and then right in my face in the parking, like in the driveway. That's what it feels like when I get there. I feel like something just is just, you know, and I don't know what it is. I mean, it literally makes my hair stand up. I'm going to go throw some Florida water on me in a minute. um, there's something about that house and that back room in the house itself, not just in the back room, but that's where I had the most experiences, in the back of the house. And that's where my grandmother's room was. And, I don't know. I cannot go in that house. Something prevents me from going into that house. I don't know if it's my guides. I don't know if it's someone an ancestor, a loved one, someone, something around me telling me don't go in there. You know, so I listen to that. Because I physically can't go in the house. I just feel, like I can't breathe. Like I'm terrified to just take that one step, just to knock on the door. It made me, like, you know, like right now thinking about it, because it's in my mind, I'm starting to have that feeling like I want to puke in my mouth, you know, that kind of, like, my head is starting to hurt a little bit, just because I remember what it feels like, you know, and like, no, I don't know. Anyway, so I told my sister, no, I can't go in there. Like, I physically can't go in there. And so I want to go in there for several reasons, because I thought about going in there, not so much to say goodbye to my aunt, because I was really upset with my aunt, because she was lying to me and being just so ugly and evil. Like, I didn't want to keep the book. I just wanted to look at it, you know. Can I just look at it, you know? I understand it was her mother's book. If my mother had a book and she gave it to me, I wouldn't pass it on to someone else. It's mine. I get it. But can I just, and I told her, I just want to look at it. I just want to look at it, you know? Anyway, so, I just thought my sister could keep her occupied. But she was in the bed, right? And I could venture off on my own and see what I could find, right? Or vice versa. But my sister wouldn't know what to look for, right? And my sister's such a scary cat, and she would mess it up for all of us. So we couldn't send her to do it. She would have to distract them. And so I thought, this is my time to get the book, to get what I need to get. I just physically can't go in that house. I feel like once I'm in that house, whatever's in that house is going to come home with me, and it's going to cause a lot of distress in my life. And that's the feeling that I get. So I don't go in there. So, 6 weeks later, my aunt died. Like, it was just strange. She said she had no clue she had cancer. She had gone to the doctor many times. She was on many medications because she had cirrhosis of the liver, because she was an alcoholic. And so she was on medication and treatment for that. But she had no clue she had cancer. And I don't even know what type of cancer she has at this moment. My sister told me, but I can't remember right this minute. Anyway, so she died. And I have no clue where the book is. So someone told me that the book had gotten destroyed, that their guide had told them that my aunt had destroyed the book, tearing pages out of it and destroying it. And so, as sad as that was, I was just like, okay, well, I guess it's just gone. Part of me was really happy because, you know, knowing that this could be potentially bad for me, I still wanted it. But now the choice was being taken out of my hands, right? So that's how I saw it. Then I started, I went, because I wanted to buy some antiques, and I went to my aunt's shop, and she has a resale shop, and she's one of the oldest daughters. And so I was talking to her, and so she says that she remember, I asked her about my mom. I said, you know, the last time I was, because she asked me, have you gone by the house to see anybody? And I'm like, the last time I was there is when I went to see, you know, your sister. You know, this was when she was still out and about moving around. And she goes, oh yeah. And I told her I had been going by there because I wanted my grandmother's book. And so she was asking me, well, what about the book? What do you mean? What kind of book? And I told her, she goes, I don't know about that, but mother was a curandera. She told people she wasn't a witch. She told them she was a curandera, so she'd be more accepted. But yeah, she was a witch. And she goes, yeah, she had a bunch of stuff. And she told me all the stuff that she had and things that she would do. And then she said, and I said, she goes, well, I don't do that anymore. I'm a Christian now. I'm married to a Christian, and that's what we are. And my husband doesn't like me talking about any of this stuff, you know, so I don't say nothing. So she goes, if you ever see him around, don't say anything around him, because, you know, he doesn't like that. Okay. So, but she did tell me, she goes, oh, you don't need the book. She goes, Mother taught me everything. So if there's anything you want to know, I can tell you, because she taught me everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, acting like really dumb. Oh, okay. Okay, that sounds really good. Like, yeah. And I told her, she goes, why do you want the book? And I said, well, because it's part of our legacy. It's super important to me. I said, I'm a book lover. I love history. And I love, I said, I have a little, I have an altar at home with all of my ancestors, you know, like my, like not my ancestors, but like my, my mother and father and maternal and paternal grandparents things on a little altar. You know, and I said, so I would like to include, you know, that book, you know, and that's not really why I want the book, but, you know, I was just trying to, like, you know, tell her why. And so long story short, we're walking out to the car. She was walking me to the car, and she just started telling me all these things that you can do. Like, she goes, you know, if you want to make somebody have a miscarriage, you can have them do this, you can do this and this, and this. Like, tell me all this stuff, right? And I was like, oh, really? Like, not, like, she was telling me, like, bad things, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And so she goes, oh, yeah, I used to do all that stuff. You know, Mother taught me everything. So she goes, you know, just come here with some paper and a pen, and I'll tell you a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, well, you know, you can text me, you can call me, because, I mean, I have to drive like 2 hours to get to her. And so, anyway, she just told me, no, if you just come, I'll just write it all down for you. Okay, I have gone over there. This is already going on 2 years. I have gone back and forth to her, asking her. I go with my paper and stuff, and her husband is there, so I can't do it. She can't say nothing. And she goes, come next week. I can tell you some stuff, because he won't be here. Come next week, and there he is. You know, like, so I'm like, she would tell me he's not gonna, I feel like she's dicking me around, to be truthful. And I'm just like, really? Another one? And so, you know, I made the best of it, because I'm, you know, buying antique stuff, and then buying my statue from the guy who goes to the Mexican market. Is in the same spot with her. And so, and there's a bunch of other, like, vendors and stuff. So it's worth the trip. Okay, fine. But I stopped asking her, because at this point, I feel like she's messing with me. So the last time I went, she said that, okay, so every time I've been going, she's been like asking me a little more questions and a little more questions. And I'm very truthful and not just honest with what I'm saying with my answers when it comes to certain things, but, you know, I'm pretty blunt. And so, you know, we were talking about nicknames and people's names, you know, we were talking about people's names. And she goes, and because my cousin, we used to call her Porky, right? And her name is not Porky. She's got another name, right? And so when I saw her, I'm like, she told me her name, and I was looking at her, because I haven't seen her since we were kids. And she goes, you know, I was Porky. And I'm like, oh. And so we started talking about names. And so I know it's crazy. I never knew my cousin's name was this, when I thought her name was Porky. Well, the hell, I thought that's what we always called her, Porky. I don't know why. Anyway, so she started talking about names and stuff, and she's like, well, you know, when I don't think that people should be changing their names or stuff like that, because you need to stick with the name that God knows you by. And because, you know, she's supposed to be like really, you know, churchy now. So she's like, when you die, how is God going to know you? How is God going to know you when you go to be judged? she said. When you go to be judged, how is God going to know you if you have another name? You know, so people should not be changing their names, right? I think as my cousin said, she wanted to change her name to, for a long time, she wanted to change it to this, another name versus what she has, because she hated her name. That's why she always went by Porky. And so, so I told her, I'm like, well, I said, I'm not religious, I said, but I feel that if God created all of us, then he knows all of our spirits, because our spirits will be returning home. Well, when he gave us our spirit, you know, when we were born, well, you know, we don't know if he gave us a name himself, but our parents gave us a name. So I don't think it really is being recognized by a name. I think he knows every spirit he's created. So it wouldn't matter if you were once a boy and you turn yourself into a girl, or you're a girl and now you're a boy, or if you went from being Jane to Deborah. I don't think it really matters what you are, because he recognizes your spirit. So it doesn't really matter what you go by. I mean, I said again, I'm not religious, but that's just what I feel. And she's like, yeah, that's yeah, I like that. She's like, you know, you're very what she said, you're very, she goes, you're very outspoken, is what she said. Then when I got home, she sent me a text saying that even though that she doesn't agree with a lot of the things that I do or things that I believe in, she still respects me and loves me. And again, I feel like all this is just fake. How can you love me? You haven't seen me in 10,000 years. Like, how can you, you know? Anyway, so I've been playing this game with her, same thing. Although it is nice in a sense, because I'm getting to know my father's side of the family, you know, and this is my grandmother's children, my aunt. These are my, you know, this is my lineage. They're all witches, even though that she is Christian now. She tells me she still practices, you know, when her husband's not looking. And so, you know, it's just a line of witches for being, you know, my grandmother, you know, my aunts, my grandmother, her mother, you know, before she learned from her mother, and it's just a line of witches. So for me, it's very important that I keep that lineage, but you know, you still feel like you're being dicked around, you know? And so, again, the last time I went, she says, you know what? Out of nowhere, she goes, you know what? I've been thinking about it, and you know, I really think that you would take really good care of Mother's things. So when Mother died, I went and I took a bunch of things out of her house, and I boxed them up and I put them under my house. And I'm thinking to myself, under your house? They're gonna get ruined under there. Like, you know, but whatever. I didn't say, I was just listening. And she goes, I'm gonna go through all of her stuff and I'm gonna find her book. I know I have her book somewhere. I'm like, so you have her book? And she's like, well, I think I do. I have lots of her stuff. And I'm just like, okay. And she goes, it's her black book of recipes. I said, like, eating recipes? She goes, no, the other recipes. And I said, okay, so her book of spells? And she's like, yeah, but that's not what Mother called it. Okay, well, that book? She goes, I think I have it in my box. So I'm going to look. This has been since this last Christmas. So I have not seen her since then. She texted me the other day, 2 days ago. And she's like, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. She says she fell and hurt her hip. Because I asked her, hey, I said, I'm doing great, blah, blah, blah. Been busy with life, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I said, have you ever gotten the chance to go through your mother's stuff or have a chance to write down any of her recipes? And she goes, you know, I fell down and I hurt my hip, and between working and working here at the shop, I just haven't had time, but I am going to go through those boxes for you. I promise I will. So I said, okay. So that's the last I've heard. So I'm kind of like torn in between, like, here's my dilemma, and I need y'all's honest opinion. You guys who've been following me about my grandmother's book, y'all know the whole story, because there's a lot of stuff I left out, but you have to go back and watch the videos if you want to. I just don't want to keep repeating myself over and over. Y'all have already heard this. But my question is, because I really am torn. I don't know what the right answer is. I feel that that book is there. I feel like my aunt may have access to it. I feel like right before my aunt died, maybe she gave it to her or something. But I know she knows of it, or maybe has a piece of it, or has something, you know. And so do I do something like a spell or something, or ask my guides or ask Santa Muerte to help me? You know, should I do all in my power? Should I do everything that I possibly can to get this book and bring this book into my life, and you know, and read it and learn from it, and you know, keep it as part of a you know, a family heirloom, like, you know, because to me it is, you know, to me it's more valuable than anything, you know, and pass this down on to my children. You know, do I do that? But in the back of my mind, knowing that there, along with this book, can come a lot of problems. And you guys know, some of y'all may believe, some of y'all may not believe. But if y'all watching my channel, y'all probably do believe, because, you know, it's a witchy channel. I can't see a person who's a non-witch, you know, like following stories like this, you know. But do y'all, I mean, you guys know that sometimes you can bring something so small in, and there could be so many evil things attached to it that it turns your life upside down. You know, do I, even no matter how much cleansing and protecting that you do on this before you bring it into your house, no matter what you do, sometimes it's just not enough. Do I take that small percentage that no matter how much I cleanse it, no matter how much I protect my home, my family, and all that, that it doesn't unleash something, that something's not attached to it? I'm inviting chaos into my life? Or do I just write down all the stories that I know about the book, what I remember about the book, and just leave it as that, as stories for my family, you know, in my big book of shadows for my girls, and just leave it the way it is and enjoy my life as it is now? I don't know, because I want to say my life is great. My life is so good right now. I'm happy. Guys, I'm so happy in my life. You guys know this. I'm super, super, super happy in my life. Everything is perfect. As perfect as it can be for me. But in the back of my mind, I really want that book. You know, we always want what we can't have. You know, when you have straight hair, you want curly hair. When you have curly hair, you want straight hair. You know, we always want stuff that we don't have. You know, my sister is known for having a big, beautiful smile. My sister has a huge, like this, huge Julia Roberts smile, right? But little dark eyes. I have big, bright eyes, but a little ugly smile. So, you know, we always want what we can't have. I would love to have her smile. She'd love to have my big eyes. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, you know, some people say, well, if the book is meant to come to you, it'll come. I believe that. You know, do I just keep, I mean, this has been going on for almost 4 years now that I've been trying to get this book. So what do I do? Do I go against the odds and just try to call for it magically and see if it comes to me? You know, or do I just take it as a sign, as in, that's no good. The book will be evil. Leave it alone. Don't invite that into your house. What do I do? What do I do? You know, it's like, I don't know. I never thought about this book. I never thought about my grandmother's book in all these years. All these years. It just one day just came to me. Hit me. Like, I just woke up and I'm like, I need to get my grandmother's book. Like, it was just that simple. What I do. So, anyway, that's my dilemma with this book. And so, I told my aunt that I would come out there and see her. Probably go see her soon. Because I'm going to be, instead of doing an Etsy, like I decided to do an Etsy, I decided to not do an Etsy. I'm going to do my website. And on my website, I'm going to be selling certain things on my website. So on there, I'm going to be making some things, but there will be some special pieces that I find that I will sell on my website. Like, for example, like this old book here. If I wanted to find an old book like this of whatever, I would sell it on my website instead of doing an Etsy. And I'm going to have my resale shop too, but I had to go and buy supplies and stuff. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to buy is going to be from different resale and antique shops. And then I'll turn around and sell them myself here. So I do have to go and see her. And keep asking her about the book. Like, do I just keep pressing her? Like, do I just keep saying, hey, maybe you can just write them down. Like, I don't want to be that nuisance, like, keep bugging her to where she just doesn't want to give me anything at all. Or if I keep bugging her to find, she's like, okay, I'll just go ahead and just give it to her. Because if I don't, she won't leave me alone. What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, I really want the book. I do. But the only reason why I'm cautious is because I have my daughter, my 11-year-old, and my husband in the house. It's kind of like me being vegan. I'm vegan, but I don't force my child or my husband to eat what I eat. So I prepare food for him. And then, he eats all kinds of animal products. And then Jade only eats chicken. Jade is primarily a vegetarian, except for she wants chicken every once in a while. So she's a polotarian. And then I'm a vegan. So when I make dinner, I make one for him, one for her, and one for me. Every meal is like that. I know it's a lot of cooking. And that's but I've learned to cook in way. And then too, I have celiac disease. So I can't share a toaster with bread that has gluten in it, because just like that makes me sick. But I don't eat bread. I gave bread up. Oh, it's so hard. But anyway, so I just don't know. Like, I try not to force anybody to do anything that I want them to do. That's why I don't even do love spells, because I don't like to be the enforcer. Like, I'm going to make you do this. I'm going to make you feel this way. I don't want to do that. I want her to give it to me because she feels like I'm worthy of having her mother's stuff. Like, she says that she has some of her mother's stuff. My sister showed me a picture of a quilt that my grandmother made for her daughter. And her daughter's in mid-30s. And she has a quilt. She still has a quilt. And I would love to have that because my grandmother made it, but it's not mine. It belongs to my niece. But if my aunt has one, I would even buy it from her. I just want something that belongs to my father, and I want something that belonged to my grandfather and my grandmother. Like, I have her books, but I want something personal. Like with my mother, I have my mother's eyeglasses that she was wearing. They asked what we wanted from her. And I said, I want her eyeglasses that she was wearing, before she died. And so I have her glasses. And so there's certain things. I have photographs, but I don't have anything that belongs to I have something that belongs to my maternal grandmother and my maternal grandfather. But on my paternal side, I don't have anything that belongs to either one of them. And so I would love to have something, and so I did tell my aunt that. I said, I would love to have something. and that belong to your parents. I said, because they're part of my family, you know. And so we'll just see. But I really want the book. I really want the book. I really do want the book. I mean, I really want the book. But guys, I've seen too many hauntings, too many paranormal state. I've seen too many haunted collectible things, and I'm just like, oh, Lord, I can't. Right now, like when I'm in the house and the fairies, I have active fairies in my house. Whether you believe it or not, I have active fairies in my house, and they knock stuff over sometimes. And that alone is enough to age me. Can you imagine if I had some spook in my house? Lord, I would be like, oh, I'll make you a sandwich if you just leave, you know? So I don't know. So you guys let me know what y'all think. I know so many people have been asking me about my grandmother's book. I wish I had more information to tell y'all, but this is all that I know so far. I am very determined to get it, but there is that small part of price that I'll have to pay, that something horrible could be attached to that book. And I've gotten too many warnings from different people that have been doing readings for me who know nothing about this story, that told me that this book is evil, that there's something evil attached to this book. That might be one of the reasons why I can't even step near my grandmother's house. I don't know. But anyway, I know you guys want some more stories about my grandmother. I think I'm going to do a story talking about my grandmother's house, like more in detail about her house, like, you know, what's buried near it and underneath it, and what it used to be, and things like that. I think I've kind of talked about it a little bit in one of the videos in the past. I don't know, but I can do more of those. And you know, if anything, at least what my aunt can do, if she's not going to give me any of the books or anything, maybe she can at least tell me some stories of what my grandmother would do, so that way I can turn around and share them with you guys. So I definitely will keep you guys posted. I just hadn't had anything else to really say, because I'm still literally working with her on this. She just texted me 2 days ago. It's like she's playing a game with me, you know. I know she's playing a game with me. You know when you talk to somebody and you know they're lying, like you know they're lying. When you, like, someone will say, is your hair naturally black? Yeah, my hair is naturally black. Okay, but let's just say my hair was naturally brown and I dyed it black. And I'm like, yeah, but you know that I'm lying, because my eyebrows are all light brown, my eyelash, you know, like it doesn't match. And you know that person's lying. Like, did you know you're lying? You know, and that's how I feel when I'm around her. Like she's being nice for a reason. Like, it's very fake. It's very fake. I can see right through it. And I feel a little like maybe I'm trying to, like, you know, handling a snake, you know, like it's okay right now, but eventually it's gonna bite me, kind of like that kind of feeling. So I don't know. I think maybe, I know the sensible one is telling me to walk away and let it go, but there's still another part of me that is telling me, like, I need to get that book. I told you guys that, you know, in my dreams I see my grandparents, my grandmother, especially my maternal grandmother. I have been seeing my grandmother for, Moon is 21, for the past 18 years. It was 18 years ago when I first saw my grandmother, when she first came to me. And if you guys know me, you guys know that I have this relationship with the dead. Like, please go away, you know, like, anyway, my grandmother told me that I have the gift of vision, like what she does, the gift of sight is what she calls it. And my grandmother could do this. Apparently she could do this also. And where she could see spirits, hear them, see them, especially like in dreams. And of course, a lot of people get that. A lot of people get visited. They get visits from their loved ones through dreams, because that's when you're the most vulnerable. Your mind is at peace. You're asleep. Anyway, so one time when my grandmother came, because I've seen my grandmother multiple times now, and I have them all written down. Every time I have a dream and I see my grandmother, I write it in the book, and what our experiences or what our conversations were. But I remember one time we was with her, and I asked her, "Where is my grandmother?" And I said, "Where's my grandmother?" And she said, because I don't remember if I said her name or what, but I remember seeing her in my head, and I said, "Where's my grandmother? Why hasn't my grandmother come to me? Where is she?" I think that's what I said. I said, "Why hasn't my grandmother came to me, and where is she?" Because my grandmother has been dead longer than my maternal grandmother, and my maternal grandmother looked at me and she said, "She's in hell with your aunt. She and Linda are in hell." That's what she said. "She and Linda are in hell." And I woke up, like, boom, I woke up. I was like, So I don't know, guys. I don't know. Anyway, so this video is so long. Oh my gosh. I could talk for hours. All right, guys. So yeah, y'all just tell me what y'all think. Tell me what y'all think. Tell me what y'all would do. Tell me if you feel like you have a solution, or if you have a spell that you recommend, or something that you think that would help me. I'm good. Like, I'm open. I'm good. Like, just give me anything. I'm good. I'm open. Just give it to me. I want to hear it all. All right, guys. Thank you for staying on and listening to me ramble all this time. As always, love you all and blessed be. Bye.